Yeah, I will add a picture and post it on.
Yeah.
So have fun.
Just send me one further.
Actually, it would be better if we would all be a little bit farther away.
Yeah.
I'll write this.
Vielleicht noch die Flasche wegmachen?
Yeah.
Should I connect somewhere before kind of the way?
Yeah. Okay. So we are live at this point already. I will send you an invitation. We can take as much time as you want. Raymond. What's your email address?
Reynolds.simonovskis.sim.arnovskis.
Like this? Okay. And something that you could also do is
I'm not doing by myself very fancy reports. It's just more our business consultants. Don't see it here.
Boris, do you have a you probably have a Twitter handle, do you?
I am a TINCR. Yeah. You can just put the company one.
What's your Twitter handle?
RSIM.
Okay. What's your Twitter handle?
I am a tinker.
I
am a TIN.
Yeah.
From you.
Tinker with C.
Yep.
TINCR. Tinker. But you don't have an email? We did have a very similar problem last time, right? Can you type in?
So the other one was the Gmail. So I think that's fine.
So you type in this cbertbiz/webinar easy with Z. And then if you go down, share screen. And yeah, that's working. Okay, just one last thing, or two things. Speak loudly, please, because the audio will be very bad otherwise. You can see whether it gets what you're saying here. Like this is too loud, probably. And look here if you want to look at the camera, but you can also look at other people.
Yeah.
Okay, this is meant to be a normal conversations. You can say anything. Don't be rude, or as rude as he hasn't handled me at this end. But it's not part of this webinar for now. And if you're ready, I will just start, and then yeah, ready?
Okay.
Hi there. This is another web session, a webinar, and I have a couple of guests I'm pretty proud. One is Boris Berenberg. Hi, Boris. He's from New York City and Atlassian partner. And then Yanis, I don't know your surname. What is it? Sweetens, okay, from eazyBI. Hi, Yanis. And Raymond's from eazyBI, which you may know already because when was the last eazyBI webinar we had?
It was somewhere in summertime.
Yeah, probably
between summits, between Europe and, and
okay.
US.
So if you want to see a lot of eazyBI software, it may be helpful to refer to this other video. And I hope that down in the comments we'll be able to put a link. If not, you can comment. We'll do it. This session should be about your product and why people use it. And I thought it would be helpful to have Boris board. He's working a lot with Jira customers, and we could talk a little bit about why on earth do they use this product? It's actually costing money, right? It's a commercial product. So how about you just start to introduce people a little and educate us a little bit on your product shortly so that we get an idea. You can also share your screen.
No, initially, just to give a general overview of it, so eazyBI, Jira is a very powerful product where you can put a lot of things in, so you can define a lot of custom fields, a lot of custom workflows, but then the standard reporting capabilities of Jira is a little bit limited. There are some standard gadgets there which you can put on Jira dashboards. Then in products for Jira software, there are some software-specific reports. For service, there's some specific reports, but then you can't put them on in dashboards or somewhere else. And so if you have started to use a lot of these customization capabilities in Jira and have put a lot of data in, but you can't get the data out, what you have put in there, then people are starting to look for more powerful reporting, charting solutions which can present the data and analyze the data to their specific needs. So that's the particular niche when the standard reporting capabilities are not enough in Jira, then eazyBI can solve these needs. But the other thing is that what we are doing also especially in the latest years, that in Atlassian ecosystem, it's not just Jira and standard products. Nowadays, so there are a lot of additional add-ons which store a lot of additional data. There are many test management add-ons. There are many time tracking add-ons, asset management add-ons. And they also have some standard reporting capabilities, but quite often customers need to combine the data together, Jira data plus these additional data. And that's what we have been focusing on, that now we have a lot of integrations with other top Atlassian Marketplace add-ons that we can extract the data from these add-ons as well. And then you can combine with Jira data and analyze it, as well as you can get the data in also from external data sources, either from some SQL databases or REST API data sources, and then combine the data together with that as well. So it's
like those integrations that you just mentioned, you already have connections to them. Right?
Yeah.
There was not like in theory you could get something out of Tempo. You can actually get Tempo data, right?
Yeah. So currently we have an integration with Tempo timesheets to get additional timesheets data. We have integrations with test management add-ons like X-Ray, Zephyr, and just released with Adaptivist Test Management. We just released the integration with Insight Asset Management add-on. Then you can get some calculated fields or external fields either from Script Runner or from nfeed custom fields, some Pro fields, custom fields. Yeah, we have already a lot of standard integrations that are available.
Something, if you're watching this as a video later, and you at this point, you should really check out the other video to see all the different charts that they can do. Like, it's not only that you can have like a table of data, aggregated data, but also like the visualization in bar charts, in bubble charts, and whatever. This is something that you presented there quite nicely. Did you see that? Like,
no, I don't think I've seen that.
No, I mean, like in the product, there was.
Oh, yeah. I think that in some sense it's scary how much it can do. Like, but it's definitely interesting kind of to go in there, and even when you are just trying to figure out like you're trying to answer one specific question, and you can kind of leverage different visualization styles to really position that information kind of in a different way.
Yeah.
So
Let me ask you a main question. Would you say, or I would say it's the biggest weakness of eazyBI that it is so powerful? Because it's pretty difficult to get in there, get all the data. Like I have a very simple question. I only need a very simple report, but I have no idea how to create it. Have you been there? Have your customers been there?
So what we are doing, and so the overall goal and philosophy for me is that what we are trying to do is to make easy things or simple things easy, but hard things possible, so that it's not limited, and so to make some easy things so that you can either there are some sample reports or you can do it with some single drag and drop. But then for when customers are asking our support, well, I have more complicated case, and then they are not limited. They don't need to switch to some other tool. There are a lot of scripting capabilities that you can either pre-calculate some additional data during the data import or dynamically create calculated measures. As quite often, probably the typical tool that we are replacing is Excel, where people were previously dumping all the data into Excel and then doing some calculations, and the goal is to replace and automate like that. But regarding so to get better in starting to use eazyBI, so now in recent versions we are adding more sample reports and maybe more dynamic sample reports. For example, if you start identify that you use your software, and then we create some sample report, we find your latest sprint, and then create some sprint burn down chart, or just for latest sprints shows your velocity charts. Or then for your service desk project, if you select in which SLAs you're interested in, we create some sample reports where you see how many breached or didn't breach SLA criteria. So to show many already predefined sample reports, as well as we have online account where you can go and watch at a lot of different samples, and then you can export the definition of these sample reports and import into your instance. So that's the typical.
Do that? Do they dig this deep in?
So
What's your
to answer your question, yes, I think that the power is probably in some ways biggest weakness for starting users. However, there are a lot of resources. There's a ton of resources, videos, samples, this and that. And then beyond that, where I've hit a barrier in the past and I get stuck, your support team has been absolutely excellent. And they have really kind of, they've gone above and beyond in almost every single instance that, we ever had.
Yeah. You have, like, from our joint conversations, I know that you have been in touch with a lot of customers who have really massive Jira instances.
Yes.
One of the things that I hear nowadays is that those customers try to limit the amount of accounts that they have because they get into performance problems and so on. Now I have this powerful reporting tool that every 5 minutes closes down my Jira because I have scripted some this and that. Is it something, I know it's a little bit mean.
It doesn't really happen with eazyBI.
And do you see customers beware of that, or?
So it used to happen. It doesn't happen anymore. I think you guys provide an external database option now, right? So that you're not hitting the main DB. And then there's also an option to run as a separate process, I believe, which now reduces the likelihood of any kind of GC impact or kind of like that kind of thing. And if you're really smart on the JVM side of things, you could actually even trade into using different file mounts, and then there's no IO contention either. So where there used to be problems today, if you are an extremely heavy user of the tool and you're absolutely dependent on it, it is absolutely a solvable problem.
You actually do create technology that helps people like Raymond's to assess this, right?
Right.
Can you give us some a short X-course?
So we build a tool which allows you to take your production traffic and record it and then replay it in staging in full. It's basically like load testing. Instead of generating load, we're reproducing load. So if you are a customer or an app vendor who has an add-on, or an app, I guess they're called now, and you have a large client, or you are the large client and you're having outages, and you're trying to solve that problem, if you can reproduce it in staging consistently, it allows you just to kind of perform diagnostics and fix much faster.
When he pitched that initially to me, he said one of the target groups is people like you. Do you how do you do load testing today? Like, how do you ensure for customers watching this that the Jira system doesn't go down because for inadvertently you go to the wrong DB or whatever? So is there any systematic means, or are you just experienced and know your stuff, or how do you do that?
Well, there have been some changes that we have done, and in the future, so we would be happy if in a Jira plugin system on the server side also allowed more standardized way how to run some add-ons off the main Jira JVM process. So for that, we have currently created our own solution that, for example, some intensive queries, we are starting a separate operating system process, and we are proxying that.
Do I have to install another server for that? Or
so currently it's running on the same server. So theoretically, it could be even done on the other servers.
It's not a plugin. I just installed the eazyBI plugin, and everything will be.
Yeah, but the only problem is that if it would run on a different server, it's harder to start it up and shut it down, and therefore it's easier currently on the same server. So what we are now doing next week, so we are also going to this App Week, Data Center App Week in Amsterdam, where we will discuss in the data center environment, where people are interested that in a data center environment, how to limit, for example, eazyBI just on one data center node, and then online traffic on other nodes. So we are going to do some improvements in that area for large installations, which probably even more in the future will go to the data center. So how they can manage, as that's the typical and simplest way how you want to split probably, like your online users
so
are not affected.
eazyBI node.
Yes, yeah.
Or 10 eazyBI.
Or it can be eazyBI node, and then sometimes you can put, so as we do in our cloud production, that we are separating, there are servers which run online traffic, and then there are servers for background jobs. And then typically it's not so bad if the background jobs are affected, that maybe they're running a little bit slower or a little bit faster. It's better that they don't affect any background jobs, the online user performance.
Let's get a little bit back and be less technical. Boris, in your customers, what do you see in use cases for analytics, business intelligence? What do people actually do? What do you see them doing?
I mean, I think that there's a lot of, the really obvious stuff where, like you were saying, improving, just bringing existing reports together with Canth in many ways. There's, agile reports, that's the obvious stuff. I think that the more interesting stuff is how Jira is expanding into non-traditional business units. So you're seeing a lot more Jira use in HR.
Actually, it's more the traditional business unit.
I guess, yeah.
He's just like around. He's an IT nerd.
Yeah.
And he feels like he was the traditional guy, and now we come to the non-traditional.
Not to the non-traditional user base and the traditional business units, right? So now you're seeing it more in HR teams. You're seeing it a lot in facilities teams, for example. You will see it in legal teams, right? And these are teams, the reason why they're adopting Jira as a tool is because they need to justify a lot of the work they do. It's not just the tracking, it's the justification. They need to show the impact of a new policy change that they implement, something like that. And that's where the non-traditional use of eazyBI comes in, is Jira is very, what reporting capabilities it has are very focused on kind of the software use case.
We have one use case where a customer is using Jira for tracking a recruitment process in HR, and then they are using eazyBI to analyze how good they are at the recruitment process. So they mentioned that the only issue is that terminology in Jira that they need to call each person is an issue, and that's not a good thing to call people like issues in the recruiting process. But otherwise,
yeah, actually, we're our recruit or people that we apply with us, they're also issues. However, now I'm a customer. I'm thinking of adopting a tool. What is the learning curve? Is it like very steep in the beginning and then going easier, or is it rather that I can go in easily and then as soon as I start to customize, it's going to get more complex? What do you see in support? Is the most load of support requests that you get like from beginners who don't get it, and then you help them and then they can walk on their own? Or is it rather that people start asking like silly questions that you have to look into? How do you see that, Jens?
Yes, it's we got both kinds, but because the simple questions, it takes a very little time from support because you just type answer, you never look at it. It's 1 minute.
Because it feels as if it didn't take much time, but
yes, but it's okay. We have specialized, some consultants are answering the simple and fast questions. Some is taking just really serious reports and answering to them. And it's hard to say what amount is what is more and what is less, but we get both of them. And
it's probably also depending on the there are different levels on which you can use eazyBI, and then so some customers who have used similar tools previously, then they get this basic stuff by themselves, and then they can start to use without any help. And then when they have more tricky questions, then they are, or you can do that. But so it might take, if you have been using just JQL queries and now you need to switch to this type of building reports where you think what measures you analyze by what dimensions, there is a little bit change of mind, and then you need to understand. And then sometimes also it helps when they write the questions, then we need first to find out what is it really, what you, sometimes the questions are very vague, and but then unfortunately eazyBI is not yet artificial intelligence. You need to specify very precisely what measures you would like to analyze and whether the source of this measure. So can we extract this information?
In a little bit mean way again. Okay. Like if you are a non-technical guy like me, and you're asking a dumb question, you often get the answer, it depends, from the technical people. That's what I hear. Like it depends on all stuff. That's like, let me rephrase that question. Like I'm a customer now, and I'm in this naive mode of like, is it hard to get in and easy later? Or is it easy to get in and hard later? Or is it hard here and hard later? Or how do you?
It depends. So whether you, if your question.
Yeah. So I think that the way to look at it is to just think of it as like a chart, right? And so I think that the first in is trivial because of the pre-made reports. Right. Getting into that depth, anybody can do, right? Then the next step is very hard. Understand these concepts of multidimensional thinking. You have to understand measures, etc. Once you understand that, then again you have this flat line. You can then expand to apply that new use or the new knowledge to various data shapes and various chart forms. And then there's another steep curve when you start doing custom scripting to extend it even further.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like, it's a step function.
Let's talk about this third phase then. That's kind of like the answer that I was aiming for. Like in the third phase, when people start really to exploit your product, do you see yourself expanding the product on the feedback a lot? Like you see someone, oh, I want this bubble chart, but then I want a line go through here, and then you first you don't understand it, but at some point you think, oh, this could be helpful. Is that the main source of product development, like those power users that you try to bring to like the beginners or in a sample, or what do you get your inspiration for improving product?
Definitely, I would say the main source of product development ideas come from support, and that has been from the very beginning. So when I started alone and I was doing the whole thing about support and development, and then quite often I remember that I was writing answer to support question. Well, unfortunately, it is not possible. But then in the middle of email, thought that okay, if we just change something, it would be still possible, and implemented that some while later. And also, what we have been always thinking that we are focusing on the real needs of current paying customers, as then if we improve the products for those, then more similar customers will come. So we sometimes probably not trusting so much some who don't buy it. And well, if you will have this one additional feature,
then I'll buy it.
Yeah, then I'll buy it. So unfortunately, that's quite often not true. And so I think that in general, the strategy is to improve the product for existing customer base, and then the similar customers will join and find it useful. And yeah, we also we think when we get a lot of similar questions, then we make also the product some additional features which will make our support easier, and then it makes also us more efficient. If we need to tell all the time the same things, then we need something to add to a product to reduce our support.
Let me try to use this answer for something that I think a lot of customers struggle with. Usually, and this is in acceleration probably, a lot of plugins are pretty hard to start using. So if you're looking at the use case, you easily get what they solve, and it's in most cases valuable, or if you're starting the trial, it's valuable for you. Then you install the product, and which is pretty easy in Jira or in Confluence, right? You just go to the Universal Plugin Manager, choose the product, say install, and everything. Then you obtain a license, a trial license. It's free. So getting the product is pretty simple, and then the mess starts. Like, product's installed, and then somehow everyone magically assumes that you know your way. But like, literally no plugin has a really good onboarding process where you say that now that you've installed, how about I walk you through? Do you see anyone like in the marketplace investing in that a lot? Like someone that you call out and say like, install this plugin and then you'll see good onboarding? Or is it actually no one has that? Because our plugins, they suck greatly at this point. Like you install it and we assume you know your shit.
The eazyAgile guys, I think, are trying to do that right now.
Okay.
So that.
So props for Nick.
Yeah, good job, Nick. So yeah, I think that they've actually been doing a number of customer interviews specifically around new customer onboarding. I know that they spoke to a client of mine. So I think that there's kind of the maturity level of app making is rising, and that's going to be one of the things that we see grow as that continues to mature and grow in organizations.
We actually have fights inside about this onboarding process for years. So I remember.
So his answer was pretty clear. I'm going to focus on the existing estimates. So who cares about your onboarding process?
I was starting to drive. I remember a long time ago. I asked maybe we can do some gamification where you can learn how to build your first chart and get some benefits. But still, it's a pretty complex task to do, and we have already done some things. We have a new introduction page, something like that.
What we are starting to do to understand better where customers struggle with so as we a big amount of our customers are now in the cloud, where we can see what they are actually doing. And so we started to analyze the onboarding process. So how many have installed, then how many managed to import the data, how many managed to look at, so we collect the statistics on the usage as well, how many managed to look at sample reports, how many created some custom reports, and then how many finally bought the plugin. And then we are identifying, so which are then these gaps where we are losing these customers. And so for example, we saw that quite many didn't even get to the installing, doing the first data import, and then now we are focusing on making this data import simpler, and then showing just these are the main things that you need to select, and then these rest are optional. So based on the actual usage, so as we have discussed internally, but then we are then also better. Everyone has their own opinion, what is right. Then better to look at the facts, and then we are making analytical applications, so we can collect and analyze analytics.
Yeah.
And so we are doing that, and at least then to agree. Okay, let's focus now on this step, and then after that, let's focus on the next step.
Yeah, one thing that I find out with customers is that when they struggle with that, what you have to keep in mind is this is not like an iPhone where like thousands of people use your app maybe daily as new users. So the onboarding process is really like what kicks the success of your product. While here we do have a lot of business people who have really important business problems to solve and who devote a lot of, like yesterday we were at the call where someone said, we've spent $500,000 on a project which we just flushed down the toilet when we found out that Confluence could do the same thing better. And this is like, if you install an app on your iPhone, in most cases it's free. Maybe you buy it for three euros. If you find out it's not your thing, you just drop it. That's it. Like, and so yeah, don't be shied away by a poor onboarding process. We're here to help. And I think like the level of support that app vendors do is pretty solid today.
I think that that's actually one of the biggest distinctions between app vendors today. And like when I go on the marketplace and I see two add-ons or apps that are functionally identical, the main driving decision for which one I recommend to a customer is quality of support. Okay. I think that is the #1 distinction that app vendors today really have from one another. It's not, the price is not that important. The features tend to be, if you have a competing product, the features tend to be fairly close or good enough in most cases, but the quality of support varies. And I think that is really where app vendors will stand apart.
Do you see with eazyBI a lot of people in their evaluation process? Do they contact you actively? Do you engage with them systematically on your side? Like, just also to be a very honest and maybe not so positive view that I have is like a lot of people install apps in Confluence and Jira with a central account. So in our company, so I'll get every email that these emails create. Every app vendor thinks, oh, this is someone evaluating my product. So here's my drip mail campaign. I have compiled 10, actually, in most cases, pretty shitty emails that have some weird links to one blog post that they posted 5 years ago. And basically, the message is always, did you try this? And by the way, we're here for questions, and please buy. And then I get like, I don't know, 25 of these emails. So I assume that most of the customers out there, they don't try out as many add-ons. But what we find as an app vendor ourselves is that the reaction rate is pretty low on those like automated emails. Is that true for eazyBI as well, or did you get the handle on this? And what's your experience?
Well, we, of course, we do also a similar way these emails after evaluation on the cloud, so we can do smarter. So there we actually, based on your usage and how far you managed to do that, so we make it different type. So if we see that you didn't create, for example, any custom report, then we'll send the email with a link how to build that, and so on the server. So it's harder, and yeah, the response rate is well, yeah, we mostly want to encourage to contact us and ask questions, and as what we find is still quite many people, as we the standard reporting is in Jira, and then we can't have focus just on very standard option how to do that. So quite many times when people come to eazyBI, they have initially one very specific question, and this is quite often very different for each evaluator. And therefore, it's better to, if you don't find it in a standard way, please write to us and describe us, and then we are helping to build initial samples and then or point to the right example on our online account. And so we want to try to encourage during the evaluation period to write and describe your question, and we will definitely help you.
Is it working?
Yes, yeah, I think that's the best.
That sounds like a very good pitch, right? Like you're doing my report for free for me,
Yeah,
so
so yeah, we are. Yeah,
everyone should be contacting you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I should say that we are probably doing more. Yeah, we doing mini consulting during the support, and well, we will not do all your reports, but we'll definitely help with your initial ones and provide.
I just realized he's taking away business from.
No, because if we go back to the discussion of that step function, right? The further they get into that, the more help they'll basically need at some point. So getting them over the first hump is good for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, in terms of our resources, so we probably spend the same amount on development as on support. So we have compared to probably many others.
Do you support yourself?
Nowadays, rarely, but so sometimes I got some questions where I provide some advice, still maybe in comments. But initially, I did when initially building eazyBI. So also it was probably half time on support, half time on product development, and that's really valuable source of that. So nowadays we still have a practice that every developer we have a shift that for developer for 2 weeks is in support. So mostly handling technical questions, but sometimes also functional questions. And so everyone on our team.
So how often do they have to do that?
It's once in a.
I'm a developer myself, so
So it's
last
once
2
in
weeks ago. I was in
It's a
support.
round robin. So
Yes.
everyone has to do it.
Yes. So in each 2 months, probably you are doing support.
Yeah.
And
Finished my cycle.
and
Lucky.
Yeah.
I like it. It's
Yeah.
nice to hear back something from the customers and to help, and usually they say thank you for you, and then you feel proud for your job.
Yeah. What's your take on DripNet campaigns for evaluators?
I don't do
You don't do it. Yeah.
No, I don't do it at all. I find that it doesn't ever impact me as a buyer. Like me as a consumer, right, or me as a buyer, or whatever. It has never convinced me to do anything. Maybe it's given me some extra resources, but in that case, I was already so committed to whatever I was doing that it just kind of helped me along the way. I may start doing them at some point if I find a very specific way to deliver value to the person whom I'm actually sending the content to.
Yeah.
But it's not until the email until the email is about providing value for them. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, but in terms of what I frequently do, I test customer support when we are choosing some tools some services that we use. That I quite often I write to their email and evaluate so how they respond especially for big corporations. So it's nowadays the bar is pretty low to provide a good support as when you write to these big corporations.
Yeah.
So then you might even not get the answer. Maybe it's faster to tweet to them. Yeah, so then they have higher priority to tweets, not to support emails.
I have a separate account just for tweeting at large corporations. I don't use it for anything else.
Okay.
It works. It really does work better than most things.
Is it like Mr. President? Or?
Yeah. POTUS too.
Yeah. Okay. So for you two, for eazyBI, what has been in, let's say, the last 10 days, the coolest thing that you experienced with your product? What comes to mind?
Well, just remember that we recently released a new version and integration with Insight Asset Management, and I saw one of our customers tweeted that he just noticed it, and well, wow, that's a cool new feature. So that's I'm really happy that we released this feature.
Yeah, so give Simon a lot of tweets on his new. What's been the coolest thing for you?
I just built some printing out with Google Chrome, and it's included in our latest versions. We got the support mouse about the problems, but this was like installing Chrome and Linux servers, something like that. So it's cool to see that we released in the morning, and in the evening we're already getting some response. Okay, help me to do this, and how can I start action? As it's actually, and you built it yourself, and you're getting from all over the world some comments about your job. So this is really nice.
When is the time when you'll dig into eazyBI heavily?
Well, that's complicated. Heavily, it'll probably be as part of an engagement with a customer. But I have a plethora of existing webinars and kind of onboarding videos that are in my backlog to watch for the flight. So on a flight will probably be a lot of the non-customer specific learning.
Yeah. Okay. So Raymond, Giannis, and Boris, thanks for sharing this with us. I hope that this may have helped you a little to at least get to know those people and find out that they are approachable, and you can ask them questions about performance in Jira. Maybe one day, performance in Confluence. He's keeping telling me that one day he'll help us.
We actually
Confluence.
It works in Confluence today, but only for read operations. We are working to support write operations, and we're actually working with the Confluence.
So the product is Atlas Load, right?
Atlas Load, yeah.
Like a Google search may help you. Otherwise, always Berenberg and Atlas Authority will help you. Thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for inviting.
Thanks.